Are you looking for the best 2024 NFL best ball advice around? Then get ready for the NFL's Week 3 IDP Plus Best Ball Podcast. Welcome back to the Draft Lab. I'm Joel Worth, and this is the IDP Plus Best Ball Show. We are talking Week 3. Week 2 is in the books. We're already moving on to Week 3. We need to talk about Week 2. Week 2 was, I think there's a lot to learn here. Not profitable, not great, not a disaster, but not profitable for one reason: Alvin Kamara. I had 0 Alvin Kamara shares. So we need to understand why, what happened there. And I think there's kind of 2 ways you can look at this. One is the dude scored 43 points, right? 43 half PPR points. That is an insane total. It's one of the 2 or 3, probably handful of 40-point scores that will happen this year. It may be the high score this year, right? The scoring environment is way down this year. 43 points may be the highest total any one individual player puts out for the entire season. And think back to last year, like Ja'Marr Chase, his game against Arizona was 44.7, I think. 2 years ago, Mike Evans' game in the championship, the fantasy championship week against Carolina was 43.7. So this is a season-defining total, a very, very high total. So, like pragmatically, you can't say, "Oh, I missed on that. I completely failed." This is a complete outlier of a score. The other way you can look at it, if you want to be kind of introspective about it, is, at least on my part, it was a bit of a failure of imagination, right? Because I liked the Saints. I think I even said on this show, I was very much in on Olave. I had said on this show, I wasn't opposed to like Derek Carr as a differentiator type quarterback. If you're trying to make your lineup a little bit different. So I just didn't get to Kamara. So I think that needs to be a lesson that I need to learn, that if I'm in on a particular offense, on a particular game script, I need to be open to kind of all parts of that and not just kind of wash it away and say, okay, this is the one that I really like, and just kind of ignore the rest of it, because the rest, game scripts don't happen in a vacuum. They don't happen because of one player. So I need to be a little bit more open to that, if I like that, then I need to be able to get some access to kind of all the opportunities that game may present. So I think that's something I'm going to take away. The other thing is that my differentiator picks, for the most part, just didn't work. I was in on Christian Kirk. He was terrible. Didn't just like the matchup, like the coverage matchup. Just didn't happen again. Negative points in a standard scoring league where you don't get PPR points. Evan Ingram got hurt. I was interested in him. He got hurt in pregame warmup, so that didn't happen. Jayden Reed, I liked a lot, and just became full decoy, right? That he just, I thought they would give him some kind of layup touches, but he was just a complete decoy. Got a couple of carries, couple of receptions, just not enough to really matter. I did like Devontae Adams. He was good, had a good game. So that paid off, but for the most part, my differentiator options just didn't hit this week. So, it wasn't a terrible week. I didn't, was it like 100% ROI loss or anything like that, but not the week I could have had. So we need to get back on the track. So before we get to week 3, let's talk about DraftKings and our promotion with them. If you are a new user at DraftKings, we've got a great opportunity for you where you can get $50 in bonus bets when you deposit $50. Now, this expires on September 19th, and that is coming up quick. So you got to get on this. You just go to idpplus.com/DraftKings. And again, get $50 in bonus bets when you deposit your initial deposit of $50. So let's move on to week 3. We're going to make some money this week. Let's look at who's not on the slate. There's 2 Monday night games again. So it's a 12 game slate. I shouldn't say 2 Monday night games again. There were 2 there's an additional primetime game in week 1. There's an additional primetime game in week 3. No Atlanta and Buffalo for the second straight week. Buffalo plays on Monday night against Jacksonville. They played Thursday night last week. Atlanta, who just played Monday night, gets the Sunday night game against Kansas City. So we lose Kansas City. A lot of options there. Obviously, New England is out. They play Thursday night against the Jets. So we lose Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Jacksonville, again, not an offense we really want to target, but they are in the one of the Monday night games, and then Cincinnati and Washington is the other Monday night game. So the big ticket teams who are back on the slate, Miami and Houston. A couple particular players from those teams are kind of my favorites going into this week. A couple, I think, under the radar, but I think that you're going to want to get in on them early, right? Before the ADP really sets, because I think got a chance to get some values on those particular players, and we'll talk about those in a second. Let's talk about the game scripts themselves. 3 games with 45-point over-unders. I remember last week, Detroit was the highest. Detroit and Tampa Bay was the highest over-under game total at 51. Detroit's back in the saddle at Arizona is the highest game total for this week. Then 2 additional games at 45 and above. Dallas and Baltimore is 48 and a half, depending on where you look. And then Houston at Minnesota is a 45-point total. So a couple games with not as high as last week. Last week we had some big totals. Didn't really hit. I looked at that Detroit game that came in. Detroit-Tampa came in 15 points under the under. So that game really disappointed. A lot of offense, just not a lot of touchdowns. So didn't work out for us that way. So moving on to Battle Royale for week 3. If you don't know about Battle Royale, if you're new to this, check out our show from last week where I go through, what Battle Royale is. Obviously, it's on Underdog, but the premise for the tournament, some basic strategies, some stuff to get you started if you're not really familiar with the tournament. Basically, again, it's best ball that you draft instead of having a salary cap. 6 teams, 6 rounds, and that's pretty much it. So this week, quarterback. No Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's out. Again, no Josh Allen. So Lamar, Kyler, Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud are going to be your top options. And then some late stack options. I like Derek Carr, again, who I talked about last week. Prove me right. He kind of killed it. He's killed it 2 weeks in a row. I think the fantasy QB won. So doing a great job in New Orleans. Baker Mayfield, again, just because that passing offense is on fire. Geno Smith, I like the Seahawks passing game with Miami going all the way cross country. I'd have to play in Seattle. He just got torched by Buffalo on Thursday night. Got some turmoil, obviously, with the Tua concussion. Unfortunate, but that's really a team that you feel like is probably going to struggle a little bit as they kind of get things together. And now you've got to go. That's probably as far a road trip as any team has to make, going from Miami to Seattle. So tough travel there. And then I like Gardner Minshew. Like we're going to pick on Carolina. So he's a guy who's not going to get drafted very often, probably. But obviously, you got to get Devontae Adams. Brock Bowers is really stepping up, coming through. He's one of the tight ends that I really like. We'll talk about that in a second. So he's a nice stack option if you end up with one of those two. And a little bit of a differentiator because I don't know how many people are going to be able to pull that trigger. Moving on to the running backs. My top ones this week are not the ones you're going to see kind of at the top of the ADP. I like Devon Achane. We just talked about Miami. I think he's going to be the primary beneficiary of Tua being out, if there is one in the offense. He is talked about him in the preseason best ball tournaments. This dude is a legit fantasy league winner. And he is proving it so far. Now, obviously, he's going to have to stay healthy the whole year to do that. But he is their unquestioned RB1 right now, especially with Raheem Mostert hurt, missing the game on Thursday. HN's the man, and he's getting all kinds of volume. Love to see it. His touch efficiency, his yards per touch is it's not a 7 like it was last year, but it's still pretty good. It's still, high 5s, low 6s. So he's the man. And I think the offense is going to run through him because I think defenses are going to try and take out Tyreek Hill and make, whether it's Skylar Thompson, Tyler Huntley, whoever it ends up being, probably Thompson. I can't imagine Tyler Huntley is going to be able to learn the offense inside of a week. So I think they're going to try and make it difficult. So I think Achane's going to be he's going to be the easy button in Miami. Do like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. Arizona looked really good last week, but I still think that's a run defense that's a little bit sketchy. So I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. I also like David Montgomery as a later round pick. Was fading him last week. He did end up with the touchdown, but that kind of saved his day, right? He didn't do much on the ground. So I think that call was correct. But I like him this week. I do like, again, I like all parts of this Detroit offense. I think that game's going to be a shootout. And the Cardinals run defense, not great. So like that. And then Jordan Mason. Deebo Samuel's out. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's on IR. So another, again, a tight end that we'll talk about in a second that I also like, but I think it's going to be Mason and Kittle as the primary beneficiaries. So I do like Jordan Mason quite a bit. And if you're working late, if you want a running back in the 5th, 6th round of your draft, I like Derrick Henry. This Dallas defense just gave up 4 touchdowns to Alvin Kamara. So I think he's a guy who you can get kind of later, kind of surprisingly later. Didn't have a bad game on Sunday against the Raiders. Got a touchdown. So he's going fairly late, much later than he was last week. So I that's a guy I like to kind of. I'm going to buy the dip on Derrick Henry. I think that's another game with a high over under, and I think he can get some touchdowns in. If I'm not taking Henry, then I'm probably there's a few guys I like as differentiator options, but for the most part, I think I'm going to go with 3 wide receivers and 1 running back this week. I think that's just the way the drafts are breaking that I kind of like. Speaking of the wide receivers, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb at the 101 just because that's where he's going to go. I think he's going to go 101 in almost every draft. But my favorite player on the slate this week is Nico Collins. Leads the league in receiving yards. I still don't trust this Minnesota secondary. Their defense has played very well. Obviously, Daniel Jones was terrible week 1. Brock Purdy looked really bad on Sunday, but I think that was kind of more on him than it was the Vikings defense. So we'll see. I think this Brian Flores defense just kind of, this is kind of what it does. It gets off to a really hot start, and then people kind of get the film and gets exposed a little bit. You don't know where the blitzes are coming from, what he's going to be doing if he's, falling back, if he's blitzing. Once teams get some film on the Vikings defense, I think it's going to start to come back to the pack a little bit. So, and I love Nico Collins. He is the guy that right now, after 2 weeks, he's the guy. Like I took a decent amount of him. I think I was at 9% in the preseason best ball, so just above market. I wish I was about double that. I really wish I had about 20% exposure to him. I think he's turning into an alpha in front of our eyes. So wish I had more shares. But again, my favorite player on the board this week. And then, same old, right? Justin Jefferson, love him in that same game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, going back to that well. Jameson Williams just keeps balling out here in 2024. So I see no reason for that to stop. I think he's really taken volume away from Sam Laporta. So Laporta's getting a little sketchy, a little scary because I just think Jameson Williams is taking that volume. I didn't see it coming, but it's happening, and we need to pay attention. So moving over to tight end, 3 guys I really like, and if I don't get one of those 3, then I'm kind of fading the position and looking for a differentiator option. Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. McBride he's getting peppered with targets in that offense. I especially like pairing McBride and Kyler. So if I can get them at the 3-4 turn, if I'm picking 6, Sometimes you get them at the 4-5 turn if you're on the wheel at the 1. So I really want to try and pair them. I think the market is going to move toward Harrison pretty heavily. I certainly am interested in Harrison. He looked great on Sunday, but I still think McBride at his price is the one I want in that offense. And if I can pair him with Kyler, all the better. Honestly, I think all the teams that I won with last week had the Kyler McBride stack. So happy to go back there. Brock Bowers, he looks like he and Devontae Adams are the focal point of that offense. So I like that quite a bit. And they get Carolina at home. Great matchup there. I remember that Carolina gave up, I think, 3 touchdowns to Saints tight ends in week 1. So love Bowers this week. And then Kittle always eats when Deebo Samuel's out. So love that play. Rams defense might be the worst defense in the league right now. Got beat up by Detroit in week 1. Just got absolutely torched by Arizona week 2. They get a lot of injuries. Don't want to say that they're terrible. Obviously, they're dealing with some tough stuff. And the offense just isn't hurting them helping them with the Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp injuries. Really tough for them to stay on the field. So good matchup for San Francisco this week. I think they're going to get right even without Deebo and without Christian McCaffrey. But I think they get right this week. Jake Ferguson, I think, is in play as a 6th round player. I think sounds like he's going to be back. Sounds like he was pain-free. Obviously, I don't think they wanted to push it last week, so he was still inactive. But I think he's going to be back in play. Remember Baltimore again. Week 1 gave up I think a touchdown to Noah Gray. Kelsey didn't do very much, but Noah Gray was involved in the offense. And then Bowers had a great week against them last week. So that's a defense that you want to right now kind of look to play your tight end against. So if Ferguson's active, I think he's someone I want to get in there. So he's, if I don't get those top 3, he's kind of a guy I'm looking for on the back end. Let's take a look at some differentiator options this week. These are the guys you want to think about plugging into your lineup that, may not have that top 36 ADP, just so you can kind of separate your lineup a little bit. I'm going back to the well with Chris Olave. They get Philly this week. They're going to have to score again. But Philly's quarterbacks look really suspect. Green Bay torched them in week 1. They couldn't stop Atlanta when they needed to on Monday night. So I just don't think that passing defense is much better than it was last year. I'm going to go back to the well with Chris Olave. I like Jaxon Smith-Njigba this week. Obviously, DK Metcalf is going to be a pretty high pick, but I like JSN as well. We talked about Jameson Williams. He's a guy, again, not totally off the radar, but as a 5th or 6th round guy, like him as a differentiator, like stacking with Gibbs. Don't know that I want to stack him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if I get Gibbs, McBride, something like that, then I'm willing to full stack that game with Jameson Williams. Malik Nabers, I think people are going to be off of him because of the Cleveland matchup. I'm not really scared of that matchup. So I'm willing to take a chance with Malik Nabers. It just looks like just a massive stud. So had a great game on Sunday, even in a losing effort, but looks like just the best player on that Giants team, and it's probably not really close. Tony Pollard, Tennessee gets Green Bay this week. Green Bay's defense has played pretty well, but they have given up production in the running game. Saquon Barkley had 3 touchdowns week 1. Jonathan Taylor had 100 yards, averaged like 8 yards a carry week 2. So I think Tony Pollard is going to be the focus of the Tennessee offense this week. And, Tyjae Spears is banged up a little bit. So I think it's going to be the Pollard show. So he's a guy I like adding, again, kind of outside that 36 ADP. David Montgomery, we talked about. Jayden Reed, again, another guy I'm going to go back to the well on. Packers are not going to be able to run 53 times this week. Again, much tougher run defense in Tennessee than Indianapolis. Indy's a defense that you want to pick on. And we'll talk about that in a second. For the running game, You can't do that with Tennessee. We talked about last week with Breece Hall, why I didn't like him as much. Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat. They got some meat in the middle. So they're really tough to run on. Green Bay is not going to be able to run 53 times. It's not going to happen. So again, they are going to have to, assuming Jordan Love doesn't play, and even if he does, they're going to, Jayden Reed's going to be a target. Obviously, if Love plays. If not, again, they're going to want to dial up some really easy targets, some layup throws from Malik Willis. Jayden Reed's the best guy they have to do that. Did have a couple big runs on some end rounds, but really he got put into the decoy role and just wasn't productive for fantasy. So disappointing, but Packers got to win with a backup quarterback. So you cannot complain about what Matt LaFleur did. He did the right thing for the team. And then Khalil Herbert. We just talked about how bad Indianapolis's run defense is. DeAndre Swift has really been like the worst running back in the league who's gotten any volume. So it's a real deep guy. Is a real kind of separator guy, differentiator option. I like throwing Khalil Herbert in the 6th round. He's someone I'm going to want to have some exposure to just because Caleb Williams is struggling. The passing game is struggling. But and the way to attack Indy is obviously through the ground. Forrest Buckner went on IR this week. So that's how you want to attack them. DeAndre Swift has been just terrible. The worst, I think, worst rushing yards over expected, negative rushing yards over expected, or under expected, I should say. So, yeah, I think maybe at some point they're just going to go to Khalil Herbert and make him the lead back. So he's a guy I want to have some exposure to this week. So that is it for week 3. Let's call up a draft. Let's fire one up. All right. It has found my location, and we are good to go. Filling up quick here. And we're full. These drafts are filling up. On fire. Again, this is my favorite time to draft. Ooh, we get the 101. We'll take that. Again, the ADP has not really synced itself. So I think as more and more drafts happen throughout the week, it'll kind of reflect the way things are happening more accurately. But right now, I don't think it does. So this hasn't really pulled up my current rankings, but that's all right. We can draft off ADP. That's all good. I know where I'm going with the first pick. And we are 15 seconds away from going. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb, and we'll see what happens. I have seen some drafts where you can get like Nico Collins and Devon Achane at the 6-7 at the turn. Not often, but it does happen. All right, there we go. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson going 2. That's interesting. Again, I would take Nico. Saquon Barkley's going 2 quite a bit. Kamara's going 2. I've seen Nico Collins go 2. I've taken Nico Collins at 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he goes. Jahmyr Gibbs at 3 is earlier than I expect. That's interesting. Mason Achane usually goes around the turn, so don't get him if you're picking 1. Achane Barkley's a nice turn. Definitely like that. We'll see how this plays out. Kamara, look at that. 4 straight running backs. That's interesting. Let's see. Anybody? MTM Revolt, UC Boyd. Nobody I'm familiar with. A few badges in this draft. Drafting late at night here on the East Coast. Brock Bowers, first tight end off the board. Nico Collins goes. Marvin Harrison. So I'm going to look at, I can go the McBride, Kyler stack. I think if I want a tight end, I probably have to take one here, but I'm going to take Tyreek Hill. I think there's just too much value there. Adams, Taylor. Again, I don't think I can get the stack, so I think I'll just take Kittle here. I prefer getting McBride with Kyler if I can, and I don't think Kyler's going to come all the way around. I think the Harrison drafter would probably take him. So I'll take Kittle. I'm good with that. Like I said, Kittle balls out whenever Deebo Samuel's hurt. Gives me a quarterback option. I don't think anybody's going to take Dak. If I want to stack Dak with CeeDee, but I could take Purdy. I would probably prefer Dak, I think, because I think Jordan Mason's in play. So, yeah, Kyler goes. So, yeah, I think that was the right thing to do there. Because I just don't think Kyler was coming around. He's one of the top quarterbacks. So we'll see what the quarterbacks look like. Lamb, Tyreek, Kittle, no running back so far. So, again, Henry's going to be in play as a bring back on CeeDee Lamb. I have been taking Stroud with Nico quite a bit. I do like that pairing. Not high on Connor this week. Detroit's run defense is really good. So I think, and their secondary does not look good. So I think Arizona's going to have to throw the ball to win. Again, Connor can get, kind of like Breece Hall last week, he can get there with pass volume, but just not someone I'm super in on. Am interested in both the Tampa Bay receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin again. And like I said, I like Olave. No action on that side. Don't have anything in the Philly New Orleans game. Man, Devontae Adams just kind of sitting there. Too good to pass up at this point. ADP of 15, and I'm getting him at 24. So I get this pick and one more. I think I can wait on Dak and just get him on with my last pick. So I am going to take Derrick Henry because I have to take a running back if I'm not going to take a quarterback. So it gives me a bring back with CeeDee. Again, Dallas just gave up four running back touchdowns to Alvin Kamara. So no reason Derrick Henry can't do that, right? So I do like that. Pretty happy with this lineup. I've gotten some good value. So let me star Dak real quick. Star him. Star Purdy. Star Minshew. I doubt all those guys will go. Do want to have some correlation if I'm going to take a 6-pick quarterback. So I got Derrick Henry right at ADP. Again, these ADPs are going to fluctuate. It's early in the week. But, you're talking closing line value. I think that's probably around where he's going to go. Lamb 101, that's standard. That's going to happen every draft, I think. Almost every, not every draft, but, probably 95% of the drafts. CeeDee's going to go 101. Tyreek at 12, I think is good value. Devontae Adams at 24, I think is insane value. And then Kittle, obviously I took well above ADP, but I think he very well could be the top tight end this week. So like the way this team is coming together. And I think, because of the values and, the differentiation from ADP, I think this is going to be a fairly unique team. So I do like that. And then Dak does come back to us. What's left? So you have Mayfield, Purdy, Carr, like all those guys, but I will take the correlation with Dak Prescott. And I like that team quite a bit. So 83.2 points projected. I think it's a better team than that. But yeah, like that. Like I said, I do like going one running back, 3 receiver this week. There's not a ton of running backs I like, and this team is differentiated enough that I don't feel like I need to. I think this team is fairly unique. I don't know that you're going to get Lamb, Tyreek, and Devontae Adams in a whole lot of drafts, plus Kittle. So I don't feel like I need to kind of go off board and take someone there in this particular draft to make it unique. So like this one, like this build quite a bit. So that's it for this week. Week 3 coming up. Get those drafts in. Enjoy yourself. Have some fun. again, this is, if you like DFS, you're used to playing salary cap, just a really, really fun way to do it. I really enjoy the Battle Royale. And there's a ton of, go on Underdog. There's a ton of different, same kind of format, but, different contests. The Wildcat is the $3 entry. A lot of single entries. You want to get in as many of those single entries as you can. Smaller field, better odds. So check out Underdog. Have fun this week. Check out everything on the channel. IDP plus bets. We've got so much going on. So like, subscribe, enjoy. Good luck in week 3. And we will see you this Sunday for the DFS show live with my buddy Jameson Hutchinson. Check us out at 10 o'clock Eastern time for all your DFS previews. We will see you then. Good luck in week 3, everyone.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.